Hello, hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Zaid, TikTok, Instagram, and now YouTube, antillean papa. I'll put it on both sides. And this is going to be the first episode of my podcast style series where I talk about all things fashion because it's what I love, it's what I'm very passionate about, and I just want to share that with you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Further elaborate, I'm going to be talking about how I got into fashion trends that I've been seeing lately, and just everything fashion under the sun. So if you guys like that, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I anticipate this video might be longer than any video that I've ever posted on social media, so I hope that everything is coherent and clear, and if it's not, please let me know. Today's special guest is a matcha latte. Can you guys see it? Cool. So it's a matcha latte mix from the Asian grocery store next to my house. It's really, really good. It only has two ingredients, sugar and the green tea powder, I believe that's what it said, and it was only $6. I only had to add milk and it was amazing. So everyone should be drinking matcha. That's what I think. So this is just going to be my take on what's going on in the fashion world from just my perspective. So I would say that my consumption of fashion, it's definitely not through archives and fashion history. It would definitely be more of media consumption and what celebrities are sort of promoting. I definitely would say that I am not the kind of person that sort of tries to form a parasocial relationship or looks up to celebrities in a sense where it's like I stand them in that sense, but I just find that when I like seeing a lot of high end campaigns that they participate in, I like seeing what they're wearing on runways. It might not necessarily be so much their music. I find I really connect with their fashion, what they're wearing, their style, fashion campaigns that they do, as well as modeling campaigns that they do. I like looking at covers of Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, what they wear in interviews, what they wear when they're on stage. I feel like that's what draws the attention to me. Although I do definitely consume other mediums such as music, movies, as well as television shows. I find also an industry that does this even better than the Western media. I feel as if K-pop really does it well, and I say this because I would say that I think with the aid of stan culture, K-pop really is it really has been granted the opportunity to form a parasocial relationship between the audience as well as the members of groups. But I find that they just do it a lot better when you look at the very, very popular groups that come from, for example, companies such as SM, JYP, Hybe. They really push forward their artists to, for example, exceed and not only in music but also in, for example, the fashion spaces, as well as, in addition to music spaces, the fashion spaces as well. Down from New Jeans with Celine. We had, what else? With Lisa as well, with Celine as well. And just for example, in the ad campaign that they star in, I find that in terms of fashion trends and everything, I would say that it's such a fast and rapid pace. I know everyone can agree on that. I find, especially with the rise of TikTok, has been popular for I don't know how many years, and especially with Instagram and social media, we have a lot of e-commerce that has been rising, it's been very popular and in trend, as well as having these sort of spaces where people can sell their own clothes, Depop, Grailed, online Facebook Marketplace. You can find a lot of pieces that are older as well as, for example, more trendier pieces in your typical resale stores. And I find that now it's a very large mixture of both. I find that people sort of want to have the mix of older, more vintage pieces that they might find within thrift stores, family wardrobes, or just for example, online e-commerce stores as well, mixed in with trendy fashion pieces. There's nothing wrong with that. I find that mixing a little bit of both is, I feel like it's a lot about perspective and it's a lot about what you're consuming, what you hang around. Everything's kind of a trend at the end of the day. That's how I see it. Now, in terms of my fashion experience, I have, yes, a professional and then also a personal. The professional, I can maybe dive into that at a later point in time. I did used to model in the past, and I've done a lot of Montreal based creative shoots, and they have all been very, very fun. Thank you for everyone, whoever I've ever worked with. It's been amazing. It's been a blessing. And what else? I had a professional experience, but today I'm focusing a lot more on the personal because I feel like that's something a lot more people can resonate with. So, in terms of my personal experience, the very first time that I've actually interacted with fashion in the sense of me looking at it not just as clothes but actually fashion would actually be with my mom. I feel like as even from a young age she's always taught us to look presentable, dress well, and make sure that you keep yourself composed, especially in public as well as in private. So when you have that instilled in you from a very, very young age, it kind of allows you to discover what you like and what you don't like from a very young age. And I always found that I really like the more preppy style throughout my entire life. I've always been liking brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Perry Ellis. And even growing up, I remember growing up in New York, I would see off the top of my head a lot of, for example, DKNY Rockwear, Kate Spade, Michael Kors, all of these brands, they have all of these stores just, they're everywhere. You can look up, you go into the store, and there's like different retailers. So I've always been surrounded by that. My mother is very fashionable. Love you, mother. So that's kind of how it's been for me. I would say it was actually when I was looking at the Scooby Doo movie and I had seen that it was a post on Twitter, on fashion Twitter, and someone had stated that Daphne in Scooby Doo or Scooby Doo's 2 Monsters Unleashed was wearing custom Louis Vuitton. And I thought that was so interesting because, from my perspective, I had never thought that such like a luxury powerhouse company would have any correlation or sort of connection with a kids movie. I thought that was very interesting for me. And also on top of that, I like how it was custom and very attuned to the character of Daphne, who is known for her purple outfits. So that I thought it was very amazing and something to look out for. And I love how fashion is implemented into TV show sets and how they can convey a message, tell us about a character, and let us know about their evolution over a series of time. And then also too, I remember when I bought my first pair of Doc Martens, that was a very big stepping stone for me. My friend and I, we went and we bought a pair of Doc Martens from the Doc Martens store located on St. Catherine. And that was definitely it was a never ending spiral from there. It was just Pinterest and more Pinterest and more fashion posts and looking around and seeing exactly what everyone was wearing and actually paying more attention in TV shows to see exactly what these characters are wearing, how they're putting it together. In terms of my fashion experience right now, my fashion sense, before we move on, my fashion sense, I would say it's definitely very still within the preppy sense. I like very minimalist, cohesive looks. I definitely try to keep things very simplistic but curated cool as well. I like doing a mixture of very earth tone colors, not too many patterns, solid colors, as well as a lot of monochrome outfits. So if you guys like that, maybe go take a look at my TikTok and my Instagram. I'm just saying. I had seen this video on a YouTuber's page. I just actually the thumbnail, and it had stated on it, just like in the corner, being a lover of shopping does not mean that you are a lover of fashion. And I saw that, and I was like, hot take, and I was like, interesting. How do I feel about that? I thought it was very interesting because obviously I see it as very much of a gray zone where it's kind of because you do like shopping. People might not necessarily identify as being fashion lovers. Some people do genuinely just like shopping. I think that sometimes it's conversations like these that sort of divide people and it's sort of an unnecessary hierarchical. This has nothing to do with me referring to the video, it just has to do with my interpretation of what that topic means, being a lover of shopping being versus being a lover of fashion. So please don't get me wrong. I find that a lover of shopping and loving in fashion, it's very nuanced and it's definitely not something that can be so much placed into a box the whole time. I find that it was through shopping that I actually learned to have a very good appreciation for fashion, and it was through shopping that I learned how things can go together and how to style things and what looks nice. And by shopping, it grants me exposure to different brands, whether or not they're luxury or retail brands, as well as just having a greater appreciation for the work that designers and stylists, as well as retail workers, put into displaying all of these outfits for us and making these clothes accessible to us. So that's my first point. In terms of the whole term itself and why I feel as if this is sort of like made to divide us is because I feel like it's not these things are not so necessarily mutually exclusive. It's possible that someone can enjoy fashion and curated pieces and know all of the fashion history and be so invested into the brands and actually put the time into fashion research, fashion journalism, art direction, creative direction, production, any of these capacities, a lover of fashion and being a lover of fashion history. Sorry, No, being a lover of fashion and then being a lover of shopping, these two things, they can mean so much within themselves, because part of fashion, I find, is actually attaining the items that you want to wear and actually putting them together, or if not getting it for yourself, putting it on someone else or seeing it. It's all encapsulated by fashion. It's all encapsulated by the fashion world, the fashion realm, how we do these things for ourselves. So when I see these posts, I'm just kind of divide and conquer. I don't know about that. I don't know. It's just my take. Being a lover of fashion, it's can mean so much. It doesn't necessarily mean that you know the fashion history. It doesn't necessarily mean that you know all of these things. I personally, I don't know a lot of different brands. I know a lot about more retail brands. I know a lot about, when I've done product knowledge at different jobs that I've worked, you actually hear about these comparisons about what makes different brands better. I know about brands that I like and I appreciate. I wouldn't say so much that I'm not interested in the fashion history and everything, but for example, in terms of the route that I've taken, it just didn't pop up in the more sense where I was going out and attaining that kind of information. For me, it was more about colors, silhouettes, looking around, what people are wearing, what's popular, what's on in campaigns as well. So yeah, I feel as if it was such like negative connotation drawn towards being a lover of shopping. I was like, oh, you're just a consumer. Oh, you're just buying that because it's trendy. Oh, you're just buying that because it's cool. And that's so necessarily not the case. I find that, like I said before, fashion, there are so many different fashion positions. There is creative direction, there is modeling, there is designing, there are, renders of different how clothes would look on models on the runway. There's the technical side of it, fashion tech. So each one of these different domains contribute a different part of what it means to be existing within the fashion space. And I find that each division requires very technical skill, whether or not it's coding or knowing how to sew or knowing how to style. All of these things come together and they kind of make the fashion world what it is. And now, as we continue to move and we continue to evolve and we find new ways and new designs and new brands and new ways of styling things, I don't think we can reduce someone being a lover of shopping to just, oh, you're just a consumer. Fashion buyers, that's literally a term, that's literally a job. It's a thing that people do. I didn't really like that. I didn't really like it. It really did just feel like a hierarchical approach me to divide. I think what I'm trying to say exactly is there's not one way path to get into fashion. And yes, the knowledge that a fashion school or fashion archives and fashion history can teach you is immense and it's so vast and it can teach us a lot. And I think that we can definitely all learn from it. However, there are so many different roads and different paths that you can take that yes, they do trail back to fashion history and fashion archives, yes, but it might not necessarily be the most prominent factor in a person's journey. I personally do not feel as if the fashion archives were in mine. They were a pivotal part of mine, I would say, but they were not the most captivating aspect of it because I was looking at things that I could take from myself. I was much more into styling, not the more creative, artistic sense in that aspect of the word. So because I didn't have that traditional experience, I find that I would consider myself, yes, a lover of shopping. I love shopping. I love shopping. Um, but also too being a lover of fashion, because fashion, it just means so many things. It's like if someone was to ask, what does fashion mean to you? You can get a billion, a trillion different answers each time. You can't really put a cap on that. So whether or not you are a lover of fashion or you are just a lover of shopping, those are both equally fine. They both mean two different things, and I find as if these are both words that are tied together, but each have their kind of different world that you can sort of explode and like yourself involved into. So it's not necessarily one or the other, it's harmony, they go hand in hand. Find that when we are talking about fashion, we can talk about, for example, different approaches that you can take to getting within the fashion world that might not necessarily be from a fashion historical and archive sense. For example, you might have an emphasis on styling. So, an emphasis on styling within being a lover of fashion can mean, for example, at least for me, playing with or having a found appreciation for proportions, aesthetics, and textures. So, the way that something feels, different fabrics, silk, chiffon, denim, polyester, cotton, mix, everything. I was gonna say soie, but I realized that's actually just silk, so it's fine. I thought it was something interesting in French, but no, it's just the word. We'll be right back after this intermission. Okay, so I would say any sort of like dress in the morning on a typical day involves some sort of like styling. You can, take inspiration from wherever you may please from in everyday life. I typically use trial and error, in which I will just choose different outfits and I'll try something and see exactly what it is that I like and don't like about it. As well as, for example, looking for inspiration around you, taking inspiration not only from people that might dress in the same style that you typically have, but different styles, as well as taking inspiration from maybe mixing fashion within occasions. So for something maybe you may wear at dinner time to more formal event, you might take elements of that or the entire outfit itself and sort of, apply it to something you might not have expected. For example, a brunch or an early breakfast if you so choose. And it makes for very good photos. I have firsthand in that sense. I would say when you focus on a lot of different textures, I find that just like having experience with looking around at different fabrics helps as well. Fabrics, they flow and they fall different ways. You get firsthand experience of how to treat your clothes, how you must pay special attention to, for example, more cashmere because of its delicacy, as well as, for example, knowing not to wash wool items because it will shrink. Done that as well. When it comes to proportions and silhouettes, we can look at brands such as Seo or, for example, Issey Miyake, which put on a twist of what modern fashion wear looks like and also ties into traditional cultures that we might see from all over the world. So you are getting a little bit of fashion history into it, even if you don't think that you are. All very much tied together, and that's what I love about it. Another way that you can focus on fashion would be like emphasis on aesthetics. I would say that it kind of differs from emphasis on styling because I think styling can be a lot more about the individual pieces, and an aesthetic is sort of like to how everything looks together or pretty much the aura that the character or the individual represents. So we can look at characters in pop culture, for example, Zach Morris in the 90s, or we can look at, for example, Maddie's Perez in the 2010, 2020s. What I like about the emphasis on aesthetics, and I think that's something what we can all take from it, is that the aesthetic is not just the outfit, it's also hair, it's also makeup, it's the shoes, it's the bag, it's the lifestyle. It sort of like gives you a vision of what it is that you like. You find out it's through fashion that we sort of get a sense of community. You get to meet people who are like you, people who have similar interests, backgrounds, as well as cultures. If you look closely enough, you can see that between aesthetics, you might have, for example, different ways to implement this into your style. For example, very high correlation between matcha and the clean girl aesthetic, which is very preppy, formal. Something as simple as like a specific drink, you can dive into a whole other world of fashion, designs, all of these things. And that's very, 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 very cool. I like that a lot. You can also approach fashion through, for example, an emphasis on trends. And I think that whether or not you are a trend follower or not doesn't really make that big of a difference. I find that everyone in a sense, will be following a trend. I do not think that any specific style is very organic and original, even conceptually. So, whether or not you are wearing everything that comes out from the collection of your favorite store, or you are sourcing archival pieces. These are all things that have been made before in the past, have been worn. We take example of different crocheting patterns, different sewing patterns. There's still patterns that have existed, you know what I mean? You can find that this person might not be wearing a style that's, in the area that they are, but it does exist, for example, in another place that might be a bit more maybe where they're coming from, or it can just be something that they might be a bit more tuned to. The thing about trends is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with liking what you like and wearing things that other people are wearing, because at the end of the day, you won't necessarily truly be wearing it the exact same way. You might add in pieces that are more sentimental for you, and whether or not they are very bold and daring or minimalist, it's still very much being more about what makes you comfortable and what you actually like. If you are going to go for an emphasis on trends, I find that it might be good to start with just looking in everyday life as well. A lot of the foundation and what we look at when we are consuming things, or when we're consuming different kinds of media, or when we are looking for sort of inspiration. I feel as if a lot of teachers will always say to look from everyday life, and that's definitely like the best part about it, because when you are looking at things on TV, it is very like precise and perfected and very made to look aesthetically pleasing. But when you look from everyday life, you get sort of like, oh yeah, this is how things are going to look. Especially with sponsorships, with celebrity sponsorships, you can get very accurate understanding of how things may work, because I don't think that they're made to lie, but you can get a lot more of an understanding of how something works by asking someone who you know to give you an accurate recommendation of why or why not this might work. So that can come down to buying a specific item that you like, how to maintain it, or different brands to look forward to, even when it comes down to casual conversations such as asking a friend where they got that specific pair of pants from, or asking, oh, that falls so nicely on you, I'm looking for something similar, where can I get that? Trend follower, trend setter, a trend's a trend, it doesn't matter. Also find that another approach that I had taken personally that ties back to my original point of why I feel as if being a lover of fashion or being a lover of shopping, they sort of are hand in hand, is because of something I call intuitive dressing. Intuitive dressing is very much like it's real. It is a real thing. You wake up and you're looking for what to wear. You don't exactly look like the model in the mirror. You don't exactly have the same proportions and the same shape in all areas. You want to tie in color theory, if you want to tie in just, for example, hair type, makeup, all of these things, it comes down to a person by person. So going with your gut is always the best route, course of action. With intuitive dressing, you might find that you're just looking at things as this looks good, this doesn't look good. Mix and match, very much trial and error. When it comes down to like fashion inspiration being from my mom, it was very much that I wasn't wearing exact copies of what she was wearing. What I was doing was I was looking at how things might fit, the proportions, whether or not it's oversized, fitted, straight, a bit flat at the bottom, all of these things tied together, and just taking, for example, and then my interpretation of how this item, how it works and how it doesn't work, and then relating it back to how I can apply this in my wardrobe. Fashion and styling, it's never whether or not an outfit looks good or bad. It's very much if you can argue, I guess, argue your case and explain why the outfits, why you chose the items that you did and why it looks the way that it does, and how this makes you look, for example, presentable and cohesive. But it's not, but at the same time, I don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I don't want someone to tell me, oh, your outfit looks bad, because if an outfit is done in poor taste, I would actually want to know. But I think that if when you make an outfit choice and you have something put together and it's a really nice outfit and you really like it, someone was to come up to you and it's like case competition, it's like a pageant. Why did you choose this? And you explain your case. I just think it's much more about interpretation. I chose this because it's oversized. I like an oversized silhouette, and I paired it with cowboy boots because I wanted to have a bit more of a leather look on the shoes. That could be a very valid case, you know what I mean? Would I suggest that you wear this outfit maybe to the office? Maybe the cowboy boots might be comfortable on you. Can't say I would be upset as a manager. It's a matter of personal opinion. That's all I have to say. It's instinctive dressing isn't all of us. We all have the power to. It's like an added layer of confidence. It's kind of like your armor. It's what you step out. It's how you are presented to the world. It's how people see you. Different style approaches. At the end of the day, they are all leading down to one point, whether or not you want to have the ability to create and curate outfits that you really like and outfits that make you feel good about yourself and outfits that make you feel confident. There isn't a one size fits all way to approach it. It's always the sentiments and how we add any items that are deeply personal to us. I think that's what makes true style, and that's what makes things look farther from what might be the most trendy, most popular items. And it's good, but wearing what you like is the most important part. Pretty much there was an emphasis on either styling, aesthetics, trends, or instincts. That's cool. So now this part of the video is going to be where I talk about trends or items that I've been seeing. We're going to start with touch of red. Now, touch of red, I've been seeing this a lot, and I was against it at first because I did not. I was very against color, bright colors as well. I ended up buying a red scarf from Uniqlo. I also now own the Uniqlo JW Anderson red scarf. I love red, especially when it's a bit more muted. For a wardrobe that is as dark and earthy tones as mine is, I think that especially with the color red, it adds a very nice pop. Another trend that I have been very much loving is going to be tabbies. I am obsessed with tabbies. I think that top favorite luxury brands when it comes to shoes would have to be Maison Margiela, Balenciaga, and Acne Studios. Not only their outfits, but their shoes as well. And I love seeing whatever they release. Everything that they put out is just so experimental. It's so innovative. I love how I just started ranting about Balenciaga when this is actually about Tabbies. I should have put Balenciaga on here, but I didn't. But yes, Tabbies with Margiela, where they really stick out is with their leatherware, or especially with their leather shoes. Chef's kiss, literally. I own Mary Jane Tabbies. I love them a lot. I feel as if someone is wearing tabbies, it sends like signals to my brain. You could sell me an empty bottle of water and I would like listen because you're wearing tabbies. I'm always looking at people's shoes when I'm outside. I love looking at different shoes. Shoes and bags are the closest things that grab my attention. So tabbies are pretty cool in my opinion. I love looking at them. Another trend that I love seeing is oversized clothing. I am a huge fan of oversized clothing. I love looking at an oversized outfit. I'm not the biggest fan of fitted clothing. I find that fitted clothing does have a very nice look. I'm not talking necessarily about tailored outfits that are like, for example, tailored suits. I'm talking more like having fitted t-shirts, pants, sweaters, and it looks amazing on the person always. But I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But then I see like an oversized tee and like baggy pants or jorts, and I'm like, I love that. Fashion has evolved so much in the past 20 and 30 years. It's so much more individualistic and artistic and expressive as opposed to when there was a lot more, religious influence and societal norms that had to be obeyed. I think it's a trend that's here to stay. Starting with the new wave influence, I'd have to maybe go back. See, this is why fashion history is important. Oh, pleats. When I think pleats, I think of school skirts, like skirts, and I think of also Isimiyaki. When I think about pleats and then I think about Isimiyaki, my mind just skips to like Iris Van Herpen. It looks very ethereal. It looks very angelic. It looks very wispy. It looks like I'm sitting in the clouds. I feel like it's also tying into like avant-garde narrative that we have. I think that that's really captivated by something so as simple as pleats. I would like to own some Izayaki items. I saw this person on social media that they had found vintage Izayaki in Japan, so maybe I'll wait if I ever end up going there. Hopefully I do. Maybe I'll wait till I get there to source it. But as of right now, I'm very content with what I own. Mary Jane's. My sister had a pair of Mary Jane's when she was going early primary school, and I remember I was looking at them and I was like, I love how with women's clothes, women's fashion, there are a lot more shapes and there's a lot more experimenting with women's clothing. And I remember I was like, I like how the straps look. I like how you can also see a little bit of the sock as well. It's very nice, especially also too, they have the ones that have the holes in the front. So it's all lovely. Mary Jane's as a look, they're just, it's cute. I don't really know how I was like, it's a cute shoe. I look at it and I just want to wear it. I look at it and I'm just like, I love this. I love the shape. I like how it looks and everything like that. I haven't done this personally because I didn't really think that it was realistic for me to do something like this. But I was like, oh yeah, you can experiment, for example, with wearing different socks. I love when people wear like multicolored socks in their shoes. I personally stick it to white and black. It's all lovely. Next, we have monochrome outfits. Like when an outfit is composed of all of the same color. I like black. I like looking at all white, although I don't wear it. And I like gray as well. Also brown. I think where it can get interesting is when you play with the silhouette and if not just having just a very nice cohesive color palette. I find that I worry too much about stains and about getting my clothes dirty and not being able to like wash it out, where I don't think that it's even worth it for me to try to invest in like adding more color to my wardrobe. When it comes down to it, having darker colors is a lot better. Last thing on my trends I'm loving lately would have to be long coats. Long fur coats all the way down to long wool coats or trench coats. When it comes down to like long coats, I'm not focused so much more on the look. I'm focused much more on the functionality because I expect that with the coat of this length, it should be doing a bit more in the warmth department. I own a dark navy wool coat and I also own a gray sort of like polyester trench coat as well. I wouldn't even say I have a preference between the two. I like how both of them keep me warm. The navy one is made out of wool, so there's not really much padding on the inside as opposed to the trench coat, which I think has down in it. So the thing about a long coat is that I think about like dark academia aesthetic, people running in movies and they have, for example, their scars are flowing in the back of them. And I just love the way that looks. I do not own a fur coat, but I definitely want to see a lot more fur coats in fall, earlier seasons, as opposed to just having it in the dead of winter. It's chic and I like it a lot. To sort of tie everything together, shopping and fashion, just to reiterate, to being a lover of fashion or versus a lover of shopping, these kind of things go hand in hand. There's not one way in which we can find how to craft a personal style that suits how we feel, as well as prepare to have closets that can span very long periods of time. I think it's sort of like a live and learn experience in which you kind of figure out how to navigate it for yourself. There's so many different ways to it, and I think that's kind of like the beauty of it as well. Fashion can be very personal and instinctual, and there's so much that you learn about yourself. It can be very incremental in the process of having your style evolve over time. But I think that it gives you the opportunity to learn about yourself, and you see as time passes and you see how your style evolves, you get the opportunity to figure out very much so why you like the thing that you like, different brands that you can look towards, or how to even start making clothes that suit you and like define who you are and what you like, and the statement that you want to. The sky is so nice, and I encourage you to take the opportunity to navigate your own fashion journey through different ways in which you might find and learn about your style, not only just from brands and looking at retailers and looking at fashion archives or styling throughout TV shows and movies, but also just looking and taking, for example, inspiration from art, or looking at decoration, people around you, how you can learn about how cultures can intersect, how fashion intersects with culture and how it evolves over time. It's a matter of doing what you like. It's not that it's not rocket science, it's just don't make it too difficult. Don't make it something that has to be one thing every single day. It changes, and it's different, and it's circumstantial, and it's not set in stone in the slightest. That's my point. Fashion and style, it's so lovely and it's so unique and everything. And especially when you're having someone that you can look up to, it helps you figure out exactly what it is that you like and you don't like about your style. And for me, that's definitely my mom. So, to conclude, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Maybe this video offered like a different perspective, and that would mean the world to me if I can maybe give a bit more insight from my own personal experience, because that's really all I can really offer. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you guys want to see more videos like these. There's no one size fits all way to approach fashion. I definitely think that there's not a one size fits all way to approach content as well. See you guys next time for more fashion chats and anything else under the sun. So goodbye. Thank you.